Muted. Let's do that one more time. Hello, everyone. Good evening to all our valued passengers, Balakbayan Travelwise Facebook group members, and Kababayans. Today, we have two special guests joining us all the way from the West Coast to talk about the key updates on travels to the Philippines. And as always, I would love to keep these sessions fun and interactive. And if you got my email earlier, you got a sneak preview into what I want you guys to all post into the comment box to let our speakers know where you guys are coming from. Well, mind you, please post in the comment box where you are watching from, when you plan to go back to the Philippines, and what's holding you from traveling to the Philippines now. For me, I'm here in the Washington, D.C. area. And I plan to go back to the Philippines in March. And what's holding me back from traveling to the Philippines now is that I'm a passport holder and we're hello. You can see me? see coming in already. I'm just going to wait for my team to see. We have someone from OSIG planning to go in August. Great. Let's see who else is joining us. Watching all the way from Northern California. Awesome. Planning to go back in April. My parents are Filipino and foreign passport holders. Interested to know what information. Hopefully, you're going to benefit from this session today. All right. Let's go ahead and introduce the guest speakers. Today we have Soleil Tropicales. She is the tourism attaché of the Philippine Department of Tourism in San Francisco, which has the jurisdiction over Northwest, Midwest USA, and West Canada. Her tour in the US started on January 22nd, 2019. And our second guest speaker is Mr. Neil Frank R. Farrar. He is the Consul General of the Republic of the Philippines in San Francisco, which has consular jurisdiction over Alaska, Colorado, Idaho, Montana, Northern California, Northern Nevada, Oregon, Utah, Washington State, and Wyoming. His tour of duty as Consul General began on January 20, 2021. So welcome to California. Welcome to the West Coast. So I'm going to go ahead and bring them on board. And while your comments are coming in live, I see everyone joining us. So it's a pleasure to see everyone. Hello, Conjen. Hello.
Yes.
Hi.
Yeah. Good evening to you, Marielle, and to your viewers and listeners in the East Coast, and good afternoon to our viewers here in the West Coast, particularly in the Northwest Pacific U.S., which is our consular jurisdiction.
And hi, Soleil. Good to see you.
Hi, Marielle. Good to see you again. So hello to all our viewers, and thank you for having us today, Marielle.
Yeah, it's there are viewers watching from all over, and that could not wait to see you. I think most particularly you, Conjen, because they wanted to give you a warm welcome.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your warm welcome, and thank you for this opportunity, at least to meet you online, and also our travelers who are interested to go to the Philippines.
Yeah, there everyone. I see one that's. I think Chito is trying to travel back in March also. She's with me. She might catch my flight going back to the Philippines. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into our discussion today. Today, I invited you onto our show because there has been a lot of passengers, our passengers particularly, a lot of our community members that are part of Balikbayan Travel Wise that has been asking and just kind of wants clarification. I know Resolution 97 was took into effect on February 1st, and for a lot of Balikbayans, this was good news to them. But Conjen, do you think you can kind of clarify on what this means for Balikbayans and what it means for them to make their travel plans?
Firstly, I just would like to underline that the travel restrictions and the attendant policies in place in the Philippines have been issued and coordinated by the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases, or IATF for short. And this task force is composed of various government agencies, which includes the Office of the President, the Department of Health, the Bureau of Immigration, the Bureau of Quarantine, the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration, the Department of Foreign Affairs, the Tourism Department, and many others. So the policies are discussed and coordinated among these different agencies. And in connection to your query about the Balikbayan, indeed, based on the latest resolution passed by the IATF, the Balikbayans are now allowed to enter the Philippines even at this time of the pandemic. And just to clarify, Balikbayan may be any of the following: a Filipino citizen who has been continuously out of the Philippines for a period of at least 1 year, a Filipino overseas worker, a former Filipino citizen and his family who had been naturalized in a foreign country and comes or returns to the Philippines. And of course, the immediate family members, meaning to say the spouse and the children of the Balikbayan, who are nationals of countries that is falling under Executive Order 408, or those nationals that are not visa required, which includes the United States. who are traveling with the former Filipino citizen or the Filipino citizen, they will also be allowed entry into the Philippines without need for a visa.
Hmm. And that extends also to their spouses and children. Is that
Th-
right?
that is that is correct for as long as they travel together with the balikbayan.
So if let me just make so if they are not traveling together, can they still enter the Philippines? Those foreign spouses and children, and what do they have to do?
If they are not traveling with the balikbayan or the former Filipino citizen, they have to secure a visa from our consulate or from our embassy.
What kind of visa would you recommend that they get?
This is an entry visa. It's called 9A visa. It's a tourist visa to the Philippines. It's an entry visa. And the spouses or the children of Filipino citizens, regardless of age, they are allowed to obtain that visa.
Oh, wonderful! And just for our viewers' knowledge, about how long would you say a 9A visa would take for processing once it's submitted?
The embassy or the consulate, if the applicant, normally this is the application is done by mail. So if the application is received, for example, today, it normally takes 3 to 5 working days to process it, and it will be mailed back to the applicant, so they can get it within 5 to 7 working days.
Oh, great. And would you say that 5 to 7 working days should they for anyone that's travel planning right now wants to, right now it's a little bit tough. If they find a good promotion right now, would you recommend them buying their tickets now, or should they wait to receive their visa first?
I would recommend that they should wait to receive their visa first, just to be sure that because we check whether they are allowed and entitled to have that visa. And after receiving their visa, then we advise them to get and prepare for their tickets, the hotel requirements, and the others.
Awesome. And so, just so that we're on the same page there, the only ones that should be applying for the 9A visa is those that are a foreign spouse and a foreign dependent or child, and they are traveling and they have relationship with a Philippine national or a Balagbayan. No tourist visas for the 9A visa is accepted. Is that right?
If they are traveling with the balikbayan, traveling together, there is no need to get a visa. But if they are not traveling, for example, the spouse or the parent is in the Philippines, so it's basically reuniting with their families in the Philippines, that is when they are required to get a visa.
Awesome. Okay, sounds good. And right now, tourists are still not allowed to enter.
Unfortunately, not yet. As just a blanket category for travel without any relationship to a spouse or a child or a parent in the Philippines. So, unfortunately, it's not yet allowed at this time.
All right. And before traveling to the Philippines, we let's say what kind of entry requirements will can they expect when they get to the Philippines? I know before it was like 2 days requirement of a hotel, then it was 3, then it was 6. So can you maybe clarify on what they can expect the entry requirements to experience once they arrive into the Philippines?
Yeah.
What forms and
Well,
what they will have to do?
okay. Before I answer that one, let me just bring you back on the previous questions about those allowed to enter the Philippines. I'll ask my colleagues to flash to share with your viewers, the different categories that are already allowed by the Bureau of Immigration, because there are a number of them, and I advise those who are currently holding either a valid or existing immigrant or non-immigrant visa to check the latest advisory from the Bureau of Immigration, because they may be allowed already to return to the country at this time. So because there are already many categories that are already allowed to return the country at this time. In relation to your question about what they will expect upon arrival, again, we have prepared, some slides on this to guide those that are traveling to the Philippines. if you could, I'll ask my colleagues to share the information in the screen. So basically, even before the travelers embark on their journey to the Philippines, they are required to register to the ECIF from their point of origin and secure a unique QR code, which they will present to the one-stop shop upon arrival in the Philippines. And they also have to pre-book at any Bureau of Quarantine accredited quarantine hotel facility for at least 6 to 7 days, beginning on their arrival date in the Philippines. And they have to prepare their payment for 4,000 pesos for the RT-PCR testing. This is the COVID testing, which is required in the Philippines, and of course, the transportation expense. And upon arrival at the airport, they should submit the accomplished health declaration form to the Bureau of Quarantine. And they will be led to the one-stop shop briefing area. There will be a briefing by our Coast Guard authorities on the quarantine protocols, and their hotel bookings will be validated by representatives from the Department of Tourism. And then, they can, after that, so they can go ahead and proceed to the Bureau of Immigration for clearance, and then claim their baggage and submit the papers, the affidavit of undertaking, and then, of course, take the taxi or hotel shuttle to their chosen quarantine facility. And after 5 or 6 days, they will have to undergo this COVID testing. And once it is clear, then they will be allowed to check out and proceed to their destinations in the country. So all those informations we have prepared infographics, which will be more useful for our travelers to refer to. Thank you, Marielle.
All right. Well, thank you for the pictures. That definitely helped. Is there a place where our viewers can access that information so they can view it offline?
Yes, these are all available in the Facebook page of the Philippine Consulate General in San Francisco. We have posted that advisory. It's also available in our website. So
Awesome.
I'll ask my colleague to share it in the screen so that your viewers could check this information.
Yeah, we'll show the all the contact information at the very end. I just wanted to make sure that if they wanted to access this information to see line by line what they can expect, they know where to find it.
Yes, and if they have any other queries or concerns, please advise them to get in touch with us, and we'll be happy to assist and guide them in this regard.
Wonderful. So, just so I'm understanding, the quarantine is now 7 nights. Is that correct? Because I think there was a question about that later on that we'll address. It still is 7 nights for a pre-booked hotel for all arrival passengers.
Yes, because of course the testing it can be done in the 5th or 6th day, depending. There may be unforeseen circumstances, as you very well know. There could be adverse weather, those things that may affect. So it will be best to have at least 7 days booking to be safe.
Okay, all right, and so I guess once we get to the Philippines, once our travelers get to the Philippines, maybe they visit their family members, they handle whatever they were planning to do in the Philippines. Can you maybe tell us what destinations in the Philippines is primed to make the greatest comeback domestically? I know here in the East Coast, we were hit with a pretty bad snowstorm, and can't wait to feel the tropical weathers of the Philippines. But can you maybe give us some suggestions on what the restrictions will be domestically and what destinations are being prepared for tourism's return?
Yeah, I'll defer to our tourism director, Ms. Soleil, on this. She'll be in the best position to advise our viewers on this. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Conjan, for that. Those are very helpful information that you have shared. So yeah, Marielle, let me share with you that as of today, we have several destinations that have reopened for domestic tourism. So in Luzon, we have Baguio, Bataan, Batangas. of course, Manila, and we have Coron and El Nido and Palawan.
Mhm.
And in the Visayas area, we have Bohol, Boracay, and Cebu. And in the Mindanao area, we have Siargao. So for the different safety protocols and guidelines, it actually varies per destination. And for easy reference, I would like to share with our viewers that the Philippine Department of Tourism has launched the Travel Philippines app. It is the official guide to safe and fun travel to the Philippines. So now I would like to share my screen and briefly navigate you on how to view the app and check the information. Okay. Can you see my screen now?
We can see it.
Can you see my screen, Marielle?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, great. Okay, so this is the Travel Philippines app. So it's app.philippines.travel. And this is actually a progressive web application or PWA. So it means that it functions very similarly to a website, but with more capabilities such as being able to browse and save documents offline. And if you'd like a better experience, you could save this PWA on your home screen so that you can access the offline features. And as I've mentioned earlier, this app provides user access to the latest travel advisories and safety guidelines in various destinations that have reopened to tourism. So let me show with you. So these are the list of reopened destinations, and earlier, Marielle said that she wanted to know the protocols and guidelines on traveling to Boracay. So we can click on it. There you go. And you would be led into this page wherein you have the information on the where to eat, where to drink, places to stay, of course, in DOT accredited establishments, and also activities and things that you could see and do. And then for the safety guides and protocols, you can just click on the Boracay Travel Advisory, and then you would see here the requirements for entering Boracay. So we have the list for those who are from not from a clan province and those from a clan. And you would also have the information of the movement guidelines, protocols, and then we have here the curfew hours and the things that you could do in Boracay, the places that you could visit, and of course, emergency contacts just in case you would need emergency assistance while you are in the island. Okay, so let's go back now. So you could see in the explore menu the different destinations that that have reopened for domestic tourism. And this easy to use platform allows users to create itineraries for their future trips and find up to date information on their favorite tourist attractions. And you can even securely store digital copies of the travel documents. So let me show you, for example, you just have to go in My Trip. There you go. So I was able to create a trip. I wanted to go to Palawan, hopefully soon. So for new trips, you just have to click this. And if you want to revisit the trips or itineraries you have created, you just have to click this one. And then I have flag here that I wanted to stay in Club Paradise Resort. And then you could also include here the activities that you would want to experience. And then for this articles like blogs that you get inspiration from. And then here, the documents, this is where you could save and organize your digital copies of your ID, passports, and any travel documents. So even your negative test results, you could also save it here. Okay, so aside from this, Marielle, I would also want to share to our viewers that for more information about the travel to the Philippines or Philippine travel advisory in Philippines in general, you could also visit our website www.philippinetourismusa.com. And when you click in this Philippine travel advisory, you will be led into this page, and this have all the information about, of course, reopen destinations, guide for balikbayans for our inbound visitors, and also the latest announcement and safety protocols and subsidized testing. And I would also like to share to our viewers that the World Travel and Tourism Council, or the WTTC, has given the Department of Tourism a safe travel stamp in recognition of its adoption of health and hygiene global standardized protocols that will ensure safe travel during the COVID-19 pandemic. And just to before I I end my presentation, I would also like to share with you what our Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat said in one of her recent TV interviews in the Philippines. So she mentioned that the Department of Tourism is for the safe reopening of tourist destinations, as this allows us to restart our economy and help our tourism workers gain back their jobs. But of course, we would want to remind our tourists and stakeholders of the need to still strictly ensure minimum health and safety protocols, such as wearing a mask and face shield, physical distancing, hand sanitizing, and booking or operating in DOT accredited establishments, among others, to protect both the tourists, tourism workers, and the residents of our host communities. So that's it, Mariel. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, that was very helpful. But I have one question. So if I am able to make it to Philippines and I do want to travel to say Boracay, will I be required to take another test and quarantine once I arrive to Boracay? Can you maybe answer that?
Yeah, for Boracay, okay, let me just see again. Okay, so once you arrive to Boracay, one of their requirements is you need to have a negative result with the date of extraction within 72 hours the date of travel. So yes, you would need another negative result before going to Boracay.
So if I were
That's
to arrive to Philippines, do an international flight, would I have to take another one in the Philippines, or would my arrival into, say, Manila be the negative COVID test for us to show in Boracay once we arrive?
So it would depend on the time frame of how long you would stay in Manila. But if you would go straight to Boracay and it's within the 72 hours prior your travel, the that negative result would do.
Okay, and would that negative would allow them to enter into Boracay, but would they still need to quarantine or not?
No, there's no quarantine in Boracay.
All right, I think that was I had one passenger that asked that earlier, so I was excited to be able to clarify that with you. Now, for I guess for you, Conjen, and for you, Soleil, would you say that would you know of any estimated time frame of when foreigners from the U.S. can return to the Philippines without a visa? Would any of you guys know that? Golden ticket
Well,
question.
yeah, well, it's difficult to say at this time, Marielle, but our the interagency task force, they are constantly reviewing the situation and, of course, looking at the global developments. The travel restrictions in place in the Philippines is not unique to us, as you may be aware. It's globally there are different categories of restrictions in place.
Mm-hmm.
So we're hoping, of course, with the rollout of the vaccination, that more people, of course, will get vaccinated. There will be a higher degree of comfort and safety for everyone. So slowly, the borders will open, and there will be a return of travel by our, of course, travelers globally. So we're hoping for those good days to come. And just before I leave that note, let me just clarify that the minimum requirement for the hotel booking is only for 6 nights. It's just that, of course, as I mentioned, there might be something that out of your control. There might be a delay in the results of the test and those things. So it's just recommended, to for travelers to get maybe up to 7 days reservation just in case. But the minimum requirement is only for 6 days.
For 6 days. And I've also talked to many of our passengers that have traveled back to the Philippines that if they don't need that extra day, that 7 night, the hotels have been very flexible as far as ending their stay and kind of ending their stay and allowing them to leave after they've got their COVID test. So just thank you for that, Conjen, for clarifying that it is 6 nights and that 7 night is just if there's any kind of delays. So thank you both for kind of, those are the questions that we were really anticipating to kind of capture during our interview. But for our Q&A portion, we have been running a poll and gave this opportunity for all of our viewers, our group members, our passengers to ask their own questions. And we'll go ahead and jump right into the Q&A portion of this session today. And I just want to say that this was the #1 question that everyone has been asking with the highest number of votes. And it is in regards to the CDC guidelines that were posted last week in regards to fully vaccinated travelers. Many of our viewers want to know if there's going to be any exceptions for fully vaccinated passengers out of the 6-night quarantine. Will there be any exceptions if they are fully vaccinated? Because I know there's a lot of healthcare workers, there's a lot of elderly that have already received their vaccination, not just once, but 2, and they want to start making their trips back. Can you maybe comment on if there is anything in the works of exempting them from the 6-night facility-based quarantine?
At the moment, well, based on the latest guidelines from the IATF, even if a person has been vaccinated, they are still required to undergo the mandatory testing and quarantine based on the existing protocols. But as I mentioned earlier, this is constantly under review. Mm-hmm. So once our regulators would have more information, and of course, also based on the experience of other countries, then the regulation could change. But at the moment, everyone arriving in the Philippines, they are required to undergo this testing and, of course, quarantine based on the existing protocols in place.
All right. I just, wanted to make a plea to you. Is I think a lot of people want to be in line with what the CDC guidelines are saying. And we do respect that the Philippine government is trying to do the best for their own citizens, travelers, and to contain the virus, that it is for everyone's safety. And I know we're all can't wait to go back to the Philippines, but hopefully soon, right? Hopefully soon we'll hear about some new guidelines about fully vaccinated passengers.
Yeah, hopefully soon, and definitely, Mariel, we will convey this information to our authorities back home in the home office, so they will consider this in the coming discussions and meetings by the IATF.
Wonderful. Mission accomplished. All right. The next question that we have comes from Corazon Dones. She wants to know, are there quarantine requirements from the same entry points in Cebu and Clark? Miss Olay, I think this is a question for you.
Yeah, so I would be sharing a link on the chat on the information so that they could see the information, because there are different protocols and guidelines for 2 destinations for Clark and Cebu. So yeah, so that they can easily access it. It's too long if I would discuss it here for each destination, so better to share the link on the chat, Mariel. So
all
actually,
right.
For Clark, it's you can access it at clarkinternationalairport.com. So they have information for both international and domestic arrivals. And for the Cebu, so you can also access the information in mactancebuairport.com. So so we have Okay, the links are already shared on the chat box, so you could access it from there.
Wonderful. All right. And I think the last question, if everyone has just a few more minutes, is the last question I had that came in with the most votes was in regards to travel requirements needed for U.S. citizens who want to do business in the Philippines. What are their requirements? Conjan, maybe this is something that you could speak on too.
Yes, for business travelers or those seeking to do business in the Philippines or investments, uh, uh, it would be best if they could get currently an endorsement from the department or agency concerned with their travel, whether it's the Department of Trade and Industry, the Board of Investment, with the Economic Zone Authority if they have business with those entities. So there has to be an endorsement coming from the agency that they will be working with or related to the business that they are pursuing in the Philippines. So uh, I would advise those who are interested to do business, to travel to the Philippines, to get in touch with us. We will assist and guide them and link them with the necessary agency or office that could provide the necessary endorsement related to their travel to the Philippines. And we will be working with our trade representative in this regard.
All right. Well, on that note, I think that pretty much wraps up the time we have for our Q&A portion. Thank you both to the both of you for extending your time just a little bit to address some of the highest voted questions that our viewers, Facebook group members have been asking for. And if your question was not answered during the presentation or during the Q&A portion, I wanted to go ahead and show the contact information for the Department of Tourism as well as the Consulate General, so that if you do have questions, you know exactly where to reach them at. And as mentioned, Soleil is part of the San Francisco office. And here is the information for Los Angeles as well as our side, the East Coast, in the New York office. So I'm just going to go ahead and flash this on so that you guys can take a look at it. And then we'll go ahead and prepare the Consulate Generals. All right. So that was the information of the Consulate General. If it was too fast, this session will be recorded, and you can all go back and pause and get the information, the email addresses, the names of the people that you need to contact, especially if you're the one who asked a question about doing business in Philippines and need to contact the Consulate General directly. Please feel free. This is a record session. You can go back, pause it, and get those emails, links, and web pages that you might need to be able to download the documents for your application. With that being said, we have one more video. Just wanted to all our viewers out there that can't wait to go back to Philippines, our kababayans that miss their family, miss the food, miss the whole culture in Philippines. We have prepared one video that we want to share with everyone to make sure that everyone is still dreaming and thinking about the Philippines in a positive light. As much as we miss it, here's a short presentation that the Department of Tourism has prepared to help you remember what Philippines is like. Well, that pretty much wraps it up for our session today. I just wanted to say a very big thank you to Conjen, Neil, and the Tourism Director Soleil of San Francisco office for joining us today on our page. If you are a viewer new to our channel, if you like what you heard and think that they should come back for more questions and more presentations, please leave a heart, leave a thumbs up, show them how much you appreciated their information and being in Facebook Live. I know it's sometimes scary for us to be on camera, but I want to let them know that their presence is truly appreciated by all our Kababayans and viewers for taking the time to clarify on Resolution 97 and really help us plan for our return back to the Philippines. Again, if you are part of our community, our travel community, and are looking for a travel advisor to help you with your next trip, please join our community. Stay connected with us. Stay connected with them. You can join our Balikbayan Facebook you can join our Facebook group called Balikbayan Travel-Wise, where we have been posting all the travel updates from the Department of Tourism, from the embassy, where the links that you saw during this presentation have been posted. We have all the hotels, the quarantine requirements. It's a nice place that we have been providing resources to our passengers. Or you can just show your support by liking our Facebook page, Smart People Travel Wise. Or if you would like to learn more about us, please visit our newly revamped website called iTravelWise.com. And if you thought this session was beneficial and you're ready to book, you're one of those lucky ones that can go back to the Philippines sooner than I can, and are ready to book your flight, please talk to our professional travel advisor. Our phone number is displayed above, or if you can't read it, the number is 301-248-8898. And book your next flight to the Philippines and see the difference. Again, my name is Mariel Cabin. We're Smart People Travel Wise.